All right, hey guys, I am here with Mr. Stacy Ginn. Did I say that right?
Yes, you said that right.
Awesome. So we're standing in one of our flip projects that we've just completed for Invest Home Pro, one of my personal flip deals. But today I'm with Stacy. He's going to talk to us about one of his flip deals that ended up rather nicely. And so Stacy contacted me after reading my book to share his success that he had. And some of you guys know, I love getting your feedback and your stories and success, and seeing that you guys are going out there with this information and taking action and creating positive results. So what we're going to do is I'm going to have Stacy introduce himself, tell you guys a little bit about his background, and then we'll get into his deal as well in just a minute. So.
Sure, thanks Brent. My name is Stacy Ginn. She said you did pronounce it right. And I just closed my first flip last month in December and did very well on it. So my background is I originally started out in production home building back in the 90s, giving away a little age there. And have been out of the business for a while, been in corporate and oil field, and started contracting on my own, doing contract consulting about 6 or 7 years ago. And so that business kind of is up and down, and last year I was looking at, how can I kind of subsidize that with what I'm doing to kind of fill it out. And a good family friend of mine that had been in real estate for a year, he goes, well, you need to start looking at buying houses and flipping. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I said, I used to do new homes, and he said, no, you ought to try it out. So he basically started mentoring me, and a good family friend. And one of the things he did, they told me, he said, look, there's a ton of information out here, and I've read a lot of it, and you need to take a look at it. And one of the things that really helped me, because he'd kind of been doing some wholesaling and a little bit of prehab flipping himself, was a book by this guy named Brent Phillips.
Imagine that.
Yeah, imagine that. And I was like, well, who's Brent? He said, well, get the book, here's the link, go out there to Amazon. So I got the book and started reading it, and I was like, man, this is helpful stuff. It's very concise. It's easy for an Aggie like me to read. We got to keep things very simple for Aggie. It's very simple.
So, well, I was telling you before we started, I was like, I'm not very smart. That's like I'm the guy, like, if I can do it, anyone can do it. And so the way my mind thinks, like, I need to simplify things down and break things down to their simplest component, most efficient process, because when it's real, very complex, my mind gets overwhelmed and I kind of shut down. So that's why I tried to lay out the book in a simple, easy 1, 2, 3 approach.
I think you did, and I think though the nice thing about it is that something, whether it's flipping houses or anything, what I've learned in life is that it's really good to go back and hopefully not make the same mistake other people did. And I think you did a good job of saying, you know what, you kind of laid it out there, and it was nice, pretty bare, and you said, hey, I've had some screw-ups, I've had some successes, and you put it out there and said, okay, here are the things that you need to look at. And it was, both, I think, it was mental, as far as you got to get out there and execute.
Yeah. You
got to work, you can't sit on your butt waiting for someone to call you. But then it was, very concrete, specific to, I think I was telling you earlier that there were the 5 phases, and I made a photocopy of that.
The rehab.
Yeah, the rehab. And so I carried that in my car with me, and I would look, okay, I'm in this phase. Have I checked these off? Have I done? So that was very helpful. So
yeah, love it. I love it.
It was great. It was a benefit. So that's why I wanted to contact you after I saw get your emails. I said, hey, you know what? I just did this deal, and you had a little input in there and helped me out.
Motivates me more than getting that feedback.
Well, great. I'm glad to hear that.
Well, let's give them some numbers on the deal. Let's talk about the purchase price, amount of repairs, financing structure, and then what you sold it for.
Okay, so my mentor had actually sourced the house for me. You need wholesalers, you need people out there that can find them. And so this house was actually an estate deal. It was on the west side of town, and so house was built in 1970, and the owner passed away, and so it was going through that process. I would say that one of the key things I learned in that before we get into numbers is that I think what one of the deals I got in there and developed a relationship with this person.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you want to, you want to do things, you want to do them fast, and sometimes you have to be patient, take time.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say develop a relationship, when I walk the house to make the offer, I have the lady carry boxes out to her car. So, it's kind of a little tidbit to the side. But
Real estate I tell people all the time that real estate is a people business.
Right.
It's so much a people business on how you can influence and just connect with people.
Right.
Not only the sellers, potential people that you're buying a house from,
Right.
your contractors, your other professional team, your attorneys,
Right.
your accountants, all that stuff. Like you need to. It's kind of the how to win friends and influence people.
Right.
It's so important. Like I'm rereading that book actually now.
Okay.
Just because it's so important. It's
Right.
totally a people business. Because I've literally, there's a good friend who's a wholesaler that we bought a house from one time, and I saw this guy. He's brilliant
Right.
on how he talks to sellers. And so he literally got a seller to sell their house to him $20,000 less than another wholesaler just by the way that
By the
he
way he
interacted
handled
with
it.
them. Yeah.
But I tell you, one of the things, I think you talk about it in your book as well, but one of the things my mentor told me is that we look at sellers as being a seller, and in this market, even in this market we're in now, he said you need to look at them as being clients. You need to look at them as being customers. So taking that approach that rather than going that, hey, you're a customer and they're a seller, they're really a customer because you're competing with a bunch of other people out there. And I think you proved that point that he got a deal for better just because of the way he handled it.
That's it.
So I went to the house. The house had not been remodeled in quite a while, and so I went through and I remember you said, "Do not break this rule." What rule? Do you remember what rule that was?
Mm-hmm.
Do not break this rule.
Yeah, the calculator.
The calculator.
Yeah,
Do not break
analyzer.
the analyzer.
Yeah.
Do not break. And I'm a numbers guy, so I took that to heart. So I went in and I walked through and I did my estimate. And by the way, this is like the fifth house I think I looked at and considered putting a bid in, which was probably a good turnaround. And had done my work with my agent and got it down and said, okay, the lady was asking $125 for the house.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you know what? I can probably give you about 105 for it. I said, well, I'll meet you in the middle and I'll do 110. And when at first, the response is like, well, gosh, you're 20,000 off or you're 15,000 off. I said, you got to go through that process with them, though, and let them understand. When you take out the commissions, when you take out the carry, when you take out all this stuff, because this house is not ready to sell conventional.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I competed with a family member who tried to buy conventional.
Mm-hmm.
We came to a deal, and we closed. And so, but I had gone through there, and I said, all right, here's the market right now.
Yeah.
Here's my estimated repairs. I subtracted that out, what's 70% of that number?
Yeah.
And I was in about a 115 range.
Yeah.
So I did, pretty good. Go ahead.
Yeah, so real quick, the number he's talking about you can find at www.freeflipanalyzer.com. And essentially what it is when you plug in all your numbers, purchase price, estimated repairs, your financing, closing costs, all that kind of stuff, it's going to give you a number.
Right.
And so in most markets, this shifts and this changes, and it depends on where you're at in the country, for that matter, the world. But generally, that number for flip deals is you want to be around 70 to sometimes 75% of your after repair value with your purchase price and your repairs. And so the rule with that is, as a flipper, as an entrepreneur, is like when you plug in all the numbers, assuming that you have good numbers, good data that's being input into the spreadsheet, the spreadsheet's gonna tell the story. And so the story is this a good deal or a bad deal? There's really no middle ground. If it's like a maybe, you put it in the bad category and you just walk away. But so when the numbers make sense, if you're really committed to this, you're an entrepreneur, like you do the deal. Okay, and then it's the numbers, it's the market condition, what type of financing, all that kind of stuff. You look at it, the numbers make sense. you got to pull the trigger, because I talk to a lot of guys and they have that fear thing, and I'm like,
Right.
your numbers make sense here, what's really going on. And a lot of people walk away from deals,
Right.
even when and so that's why I try to just let the numbers do the talking rather than my mind, because we'll talk ourselves out of doing deals because we're like, oh, we play the what if game. What if this happens? What if that happens? Rather than what do the numbers say? Let that make
And that's the
decision.
fear. You can't let fear drive you.
Yeah.
So, bought the house. One of the things I did look at, and you look at the numbers, I mean, you got to look at realistic stuff. And one of the things that was a big deal out there, and you'll see it all over the city of Houston, and I ran into this in home building and new homes, is the slab. And so there was a lot of foundation. I mean, I walked the house, I could see it, look down, the lines weren't straight. And so I made sure that the warranty on the previous slab work was transferable, and that was a condition of contract. So once we got that cleared, and I knew that my numbers were right, because you think about it, if that number had been wrong, that was a $10,000 mistake, then I felt comfortable. So there was the fear, but you eradicate the fear by using the facts.
Knowledge.
Yeah, knowledge and using the facts. So I bought the house, we started the work. In the end, it was a very extensive rehab, which was great. I mean, it was a lot of fun. I ended up with about $80,000 in the rehab.
So it was purchase price 110,
$110.
$80,000 for repairs,
So you're at $190.
$190 hard costs.
Right, and there was some miscellaneous costs for about another $10,000.
What was your financing structure?
My financing is that I had two private investors, and then I had a construction loan. And so
The blended interest rate? For,
no, I mean my financing.
no, I mean like what was the blended interest rate that you paid?
On the
All three? Like, does it average out to 9%?
Yeah, no, actually I had a profit share on the on the private equity.
Okay.
On the money I paid a point, and it was 12%.
Okay.
So
what amount was that loan for?
100,000.
I was 100. So essentially almost your purchase price.
I had 100,000 in in a loan. I had 90,000 in private money, and then the rest, kind of made up the difference.
Okay.
So I came in at.
And so real quick, I'm sorry. Yeah, real quick. So it's a good point here is that sometimes people will ask about using a private lender, or they'll think that they can't use a private lender because a private lender doesn't have all the funds. So a lot of them, we don't pull money together, like just put it all together and do a deal. But what we do is we provide one lender. We have a rule: one lender, one lien. So if you had a lender that had $100,000, you could use that to purchase a home.
Right.
And then you had a second lender, say with $50,000, you need to do 50,000 repairs. You could take out a lien or a loan with the second lender for that 50,000. So there's ways that you can do, and sometimes we'll do a bank loan for the purchase price and use either our own cash or a lender's money for the repairs. And that's how you can do deals with no money out of pocket.
And that can be done. I think that's the thing. I think
they do it all the time.
I think what you put out there is creative. And people think creative is some kind of just conceptual type thing, and creative is real. And creative is looking at, for me personally, I looked at what resources did I have to do this deal. And I looked at some of the alternatives and compared them, and then I said, okay, this was the best combination to put together. And that's what I did. And so, but you can do it because at the end of the day, whether it's a equity investor or some other kind of partner or a lender or hard money, do you know what they do? They do the same thing you talked about.
Exactly.
They go through that same analysis. If it makes sense, they'll give you the money.
Yeah. And another thing that I know a lot of investors struggle with is like a lot of investors, I hear this all the time, like I only have $10,000 to invest, or I only have 20,000, whatever amount this potential fledgling like new investor, like I have this amount of money to invest. Or sometimes guys will have a lot of money. They'll say like, I have 100,000, I have 500,000, I've got this capital that I want to invest. So my mindset when I teach people, like go into every deal with the mindset that that real estate should put money into your pocket, not take it out, even when you're purchasing, because there's always a deal there's always a way to structure a deal with no money out of pocket. And so if you're the high net worth guy and you've got hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars sitting around, you may make an educated decision. Yes, I want to invest this capital to get this certain amount of return. But for you guys out there who have no money, or say $5,000, $10,000 to invest, it really doesn't matter.
No.
Because that's what attracted me to real estate, because I bought my first house on a credit card.
Right.
I didn't have any money to invest, so I was like, I knew there was a way, because I read it in some books, like I could get real creative with this.
Someone before Brent Phillips.
Yes.
Seven steps of
fundamentals, yeah. And so that's the thing I want y'all to get, is that there's ways to do no money down real estate deals all the time. You just have to get a little bit creative. And it's not this real in-depth like creative thing. It's just like, how can I structure this deal with no money out of pocket? And generally that answer is through private lenders, and which leads me to a whole nother discussion. We'll get too deep into that today, but I got out of that mindset for a while. I began to invest some of my own money as I started to accumulate wealth. I started to invest it, but what I realized was two things. That everyone, I don't care if you're Donald Trump, everyone has a limited amount of capital.
Right.
So at some point in time, that capital is going to run out.
Right.
Whether it's 5,000 or 5 billion, at some point in time, that capital is going to run out. But if you can develop networks and lenders, it's an unlimited amount of capital, essentially. And so not only are you going to reach an endpoint in your investing if you're using your own capital, but you're really doing a disservice to your lenders, because like that's the light bulb that came on for me with my private lenders, was getting out of this mindset like, I've got to ask someone to borrow money. I don't want to ask people to borrow money. And then it turned like, I'm not asking anyone to borrow money. I'm providing an investment opportunity that's going to help them increase their wealth, right? Increase their retirement fund, provide a really good solid investment in a home in a neighborhood that they can drive to and touch the home and look at it, versus shipping it off to Wall Street where they don't really know what's going on. That was the game changer for me. Is like, I'm going to, that's a big long discussion, but like I
You're doing them a favor though.
We're doing them a favor, and they love you for it.
They do. I mean, they love you for it in OPM.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
other people's money.
And the thing is that you're giving them, just like my investor. I gave them, whatever the blended came on that, but 12% interest on that.
Mm-hmm.
What did the stock market do yesterday?
I don't even look at the stock market.
I mean, the stock market dropped 350 points. Fortunately, I'm not in the stock market, so it didn't affect me. But the point is that those people, and I think if you look historically, they say the stock market's made like 5 to 7%. On what? On paper sitting out there. And it is a longer discussion, but like you said, we're standing in a hard asset right now. This guy, a person's money in this, if everything goes to hell in a handbasket, he's got something to grip onto that's worth something.
Yep.
And he knows that he's not going to have to go chase you down to get that value out of there, because it's in here, because at some point it's going to come back. And so that's what we did. But I think you're right. There's a lot of creative opportunities and everything to do there. And so don't let it start. And I think the key is, though, the money's out there. It's those first couple of fundamentals of making your network, sourcing the deals, and finding the deals. Mm-hmm. Because there's money out there looking for good deals all the time.
It's the biggest, the money is generally the biggest mental obstacle that people put up in their minds.
It's no obstacle at all.
But literally, it's like stepping over this grout line in the tile. Simple as that. All right, so we're gonna let's wrap it up. So you bought, purchase price $110,000. Rehab costs were about $80,000.
$80,000, another $5,000 other cost, and then when you get to closing costs. Now, what I did is I did have a realtor commission in there, and so I sold the house at top of the market. Sold it for $30,000 more than any other house that sold in there, and $3 per square foot. And I think I told you earlier, the key that I did, and my mentor told me this, is from the very beginning, and it didn't make sense to me at first, because I'm like, why would I put a sign out front for a house that I'm not going to be selling for 3 months? I don't even know what I want for it. Well, I put a sign out there that said, you know what, this house is going to be available soon. And in today's market, in Houston especially, everybody is so desperate for houses. I sold my deal without listing on MLS, and my partners and I made $57,500. I appreciate it.
No, we do fist bumps.
That's
We
right.
do it the boom.
That's why we have to watch the rain there.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so, but I appreciate, the knowledge and the information. I think going back to the back and what my mentor told me, there's a lot of information out there. You need to go out there and you need to put a team together. You need to meet people like Brant. You need to meet people, other people that are in the business that are successful. Meet the guys that are doing it. I'm in a house right now. There's a lot of people out there that will coach you, but I'm in a house right now that Brant actually did. This is one of your houses. You're still doing it.
Yeah,
you're not just taught. You didn't do. You're doing it.
Yeah, so I'm, with my coaching and like with my life, there's something I hold very true, and that is in order to lead it, you must live it. Because I found that as I've spent a lot of money on coaching, mentoring, I've found that not all the mentors who are out there aren't actually living it.
Right.
So I try to apply that in all areas of my life.
Right.
In order to lead it, you have to live it. And yes, this deal that we're standing in, structured similar to that. I had a private, that we just talked about, I had a private lender who loaned, I want to say $260,000 to purchase this home, $265 that we're standing in. I had a second private lender who loaned approximately $80,000 for repairs.
Right.
So that's $340,000, and all from private capital, zero money out of pocket.
Right.
We actually we're able to pocket a little bit of money that we have in our account for just in case surplus things go wrong. So about $340,000 private capital on this investment deal that we're about 98% done. We're going to list this later in just a few days, and we're going to list this property for, I want to say $439, maybe $449.
Right.
And it's just, yeah, so I not only do I preach it, like I live it. So once again, man, boom, awesome job. Appreciate you reading the book first, and then really, I'm inspired by you going out and taking action, and I'm sure everyone watching this is as well. So I appreciate you meeting up with me to share that.
Sure, and I would answer that. That's right. I'm sorry.
But either way,
I would move again, but I appreciate that. Brant answers his emails. I can answer that too.
I do.
He does.
And we just set a record for 4 fist bumps now.
4 fist bumps.
You got the record, man.
All right. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thanks, guys.